Alright, response video to the Modern Mystic, or regarding the Modern Mystic's video on inheritance. So he's just compiling some evidence of popular opinion on the subject of inheritance and how most people in surveys tend to be very supportive of the right to inherit trillions of dollars, blah 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 blah. And certainly I would argue it's because they have absolutely no context or thought, any kind of realistic, reasonable thought to answering the question. They haven't heard a reasonable conversation on the subject, a reasoned conversation, and they're just going with some kind of knee-jerky reaction to the question, as if the government's always bad and its taxes are always bad. So it's always phrased as a tax issue, and certainly, again, without any context, you're going to get some simplistic, ignorant reaction, I suppose. Look how long it took to get rid of, you still have a monarchy in Britain, and you're saying, wow, they can't even grow past that bigotry, the idea of blue bloods. I guess I would argue that if you had a half an hour conversation on the subject with people that could actually make good arguments on the subject, create the analogies and the metaphors. Sorry, noise just showed up. That this conversation would provoke a better, perhaps, result or answer to the question, because if you obligated somebody to explain how this elitist bigotry, this control of the economy bigotry, is any different than the bigotry of slavery, to bestow privilege based on blue blood or who your parents happen to be, and to bestow punishment based on who your parents are, should cognitively be understood by somebody of reasonable intelligence to be similar bigotries. There's no distinction between these bigotries. Then you can just go into the other plethora of examples where in no other element of life do we allow people to gain a benefit without some concept or some connection to earning it. And obviously being born is not earning, obviously, I think. I don't think there can be a rational argument anyway explaining why earning is important in these other aspects of life, and that somehow ownership of the economy shouldn't be earned. I suppose another element of this would be, just like the modern mystic, many people don't understand that the mega wealthy waste money, and they don't waste money that came from Mars. They waste money or value that was created here. That what they own, they only own because people here made the value that they're manipulating and that they're expending into the economy. That these carrots, these incentive carrots of investment, these investment dollars, are in fact made of the labor people do. A certain percentage of the hours you work go to the top, what do you call it? Not 1%, the 0.001%, consume as a tax. The rich tax you out of your money, your work. They collect a rent on your work, a fee on your work, as their claim of ownership. And then they squander that work, not getting people to do something constructive in the world, not hiring them to cure diseases, but squandering the money on Lamborghinis and yachts and other nonsense that's just more wasted labor. So they put the incentive carrots in front of people who are making infrastructure that very few people will ever gain any benefit from, like importing sand to some private beach that only 100 people a year will be able to swim at. Some example like that. Preposterous level of waste that is comparable to the waste of the Egyptians building the pyramids. If you just give it a little tiny bit of thought, you can realize that if Egypt had used that material human resource that was wasted on those pyramids to build ships and canals and to do scientific experiments, that Egypt would have ruled the world. That they wasted a huge amount of capital on nonsense. And that's what the rich are doing to us now. They're wasting a huge amount of our capital, our capacity to invest in each other, on absolute nonsense, on gimmicks and chicanery and small print and terms of service and all kinds of other nonsense for which we glean no value. And that's not even counting, again, like I said, their investment strategy is human corrosive, totally cynical regarding who we are and what we need. We don't need companies selling ink cartridges with printers attached. We don't need people trying to rip us off and sell us gold mines on the moon. And that's what they're going to invest in. And then on top of that, they personally squander, just billions and billions and billions of dollars on trips and, Budai and all these other countries with these paradise hotels, that very few people ever get to visit or enjoy. Just a waste of labor, a waste of construction, a waste of our capital. And so if people really understood that context, that the money the rich have is basically a tax on your labor, that they haven't earned it, that most of them aren't self-made millionaires or billionaires, that most of them inherited it without ever accomplishing anything, without passing a test, without throwing a baseball, without doing anything, and that we would have no contest would we have any respect for. If American Idol changed the rules and said now that only the friends and family of past winners could participate in American Idol, I wonder how many Americans would watch American Idol. I wonder how many people would watch football or baseball if they changed the rules and said only the spawn of Major League Baseball players could play Major League Baseball. I wonder how many of them would think that was fair or reasonable or sensible or logical. There just seems to be a huge amount of ignorance, duplicity, and hypocrisy in the way the whole conversation takes place. And it certainly isn't taking place in a public forum where anybody with a very assertive argument for inheritance taxation has any other perspective than let's give the money to some dopey government employee. Let's waste the money on welfare whores. So yeah, in that context, it's going to seem obvious that, well, yeah, let the rich people keep it if you're just going to waste it on welfare whores. But those really aren't our only two choices. And if working people understood what it's costing them, how their taxes are much higher to placate and patronize these blue bloods, and these blue bloods that never earned it, if they had some knowledge of that, some cognitive recognition of the real truth of the circumstance, then I don't think your poll numbers would be what they are. But it's only because people are ignorant and fundamentally selfish that they play along. I think if people really understood what the negative costs were of having government-sponsored lotteries, and how many poor people are seduced by this hope you hang out in front of them, how much of their meager sustenance they waste on these stupid lottery tickets. If they really understood how much this is hurting poor kids to have this insidious public gambling, maybe they'd have a little reflection and they'd have a moment of pause and say, wait, that's probably not something I should do. I mean, for years in this country, it was almost something people would joke about, you know, drinking and driving. It was viewed in the movies. There was all kinds of movies where the drunk guy is driving the car. And it wasn't until people became aware of, oh, wait a minute, there's a whole bunch of victims being created by this behavior, that this isn't a free lunch, that this isn't free, this isn't non-consequential. And so I think that's the real problem here. People don't really understand how much damage the rich have done to our culture. They don't realize how much damage they do to the meaning of work and the value of work, and how they've destroyed the work ethic with their stupid and lousy and rotten investments. I mean, if you want to have a job making any kind of money nowadays, you're probably not going to have honest work. It's very hard to find honest work that'll pay you any kind of money. And that's a disgusting commentary on our fucking society. And it's just part of the ignorance of the average person who has taken no time to understand anything. They just opine on things as if they have some kind of qualified opinion, which is just more a reflection of the fact that they seem to understand what earn means for the Olympics, and they seem to understand what earn means for baseball and football and soccer, but every other aspect of life they seem to have no comprehension of what the word earn means. And it's dismal, pitiful, sad, tragic, but I think it's totally correctable. Just like the drunk driving thing, all you need is a little bit of organization, some people who will push the agenda, shove the images in people's faces, the context, ask them to answer the question, why is it okay for, why should baseball players have to earn it if CEOs don't have to earn it? And, we'll maybe have a more rational conversation. Yeah. But yeah, I'll concede that the public opinion has been swayed because most people are stupid. As Fox News proves, you can sell almost any kind of dumb idea to the average American. Barnum was correct. There's a sucker born every day and every minute. And they're suckers. They buy the bill of goods, the bullshit. They think themselves a real American, and what they really are is a real fucktard. And so, but again, so this isn't a hostile video to Nick, because Nick is basically conceding that there's a reasonableness to recognizing that this isn't earned privilege, and that it would probably make more sense to have a game that required people to earn it. And even if the modern mystic doesn't understand the waste of the wealthy, maybe he would understand that we have this whole class of usually pretty well educated people who are wasting their very expensive educations on golf courses and on yachts drinking wine. So instead of doing any work and doing any contributing to society, we've given them a go ahead and loaf for free card, and wasted a substantial portion of our human resource. The waste of their life plus the waste of the capital they will squander in their pursuit of more capital, in their pursuit of acquisition of more ownership and more right to be even more lazy. It's corrosive to our civilization in a fundamental way. It would make our capitalism so much richer if we made it a earned game. The gameplay would get so much better if it was derived through merit and not merely the circumstance of birthright. Birthright, again, I mean, to sit there and claim some sort of notion that can make any logical sense. Birthright. Again, ask people that question. Should people be entitled to a birthright? See what kind of answers you get. So it's all in how you phrase the question, I suppose. Should people be allowed to cheat in the most important games in life? should people be allowed to inherit driver's licenses? I wonder what their answer would be. And then ask them the question. Ask them a whole bunch of previous questions like, should all Major League Baseball players have to be related to previous Major League Baseball players? Ask them those lines of questions first. Should people in the community, when they have a community event and they're having a three-legged race, should the mayor's kids and the town council kids and all those people have a halfway down the track head start? Yeah, should thoroughbreds who have an ancestry of previous Kentucky Derby winners, should they get a head start in a horse race? So ask them a whole bunch of preface questions like that, and then ask them about inheritance and see if they don't choke on the stupidity of saying, oh yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. So I think it's all the context. Again, it's the context of how you ask the question and what kind of informed frame of mind you're asking. And clearly, in most cases, human beings don't stop and wait till they have an informed frame of reference. They just opine out of their buttholes and say absolute shit. Yeah. Anyway, enough of the video. Till next time, sorry about the wind and such. Cat sleeping comfortably. Yes. Bugs creeping on the camera comfortably. Anyway, till next time and such.